Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about 5 linebackers that I think the Washington Commanders should sign to improve their linebacking core this offseason. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so please help me get there. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Now let's get right into it. The Washington Commanders have done a lot of things to address some of their biggest needs this offseason, adding Jahan Dotson to the receiver mix. Hopefully Curtis Samuel's healthy. They added Carson Wentz. They definitely addressed some of their biggest needs, but one need that they did not address is the linebacker position. Going into the offseason, linebacker was one of the biggest needs for the Washington Commanders, and they did not address it at all during free agency. They didn't sign a single person. During the draft, they didn't draft anyone, and I guess they did sign a few free agents, but they're undrafted free agents, so it doesn't really count. And maybe those guys will be competing for that last linebacker spot, but they're not going to probably not be making a huge impact in their rookie year. So they still have a pretty big hole at the linebacker position. And some people might say, well, they play 2 linebacker sets most of the time, so it shouldn't be an issue. Well, what I'll say to that is I love Cole Holcomb. He's very, very solid, can play middle linebacker or outside. I'm totally fine and confident in Cole Holcomb. But then you go to Jamin Davis. Hopefully he'll take a leap in his second year, but you can't rely on that. But let's say he's solid. Well, you got Jamin and Cole. If one of those guys goes down, and hopefully it doesn't happen, but injuries happen, you're going to be playing David Mayo 100% of the snaps because of those 2 linebacker sets. And even if Jamin Davis and Cole Holcomb stay healthy, you're still going to be playing David Mayo a significant amount of snaps in those 3 linebacker sets, him or Khaleke Hudson. And I like Khaleke Hudson a little bit, but we don't know what he is for sure. So I do not feel comfortable with that at all. David Mayo is a backup at best, but more of a low-tier backup. He's a good special teams player. So I just don't feel comfortable with the Commanders' linebacking core at all. I think they need to address it big time. Doesn't need to be a big name guy, but at least someone that is significantly better than David Mayo and can play solid football for them. And this should not be a big, it shouldn't be a big signing. It's not going to cost that much money at this point in the off season. We're in late June. A lot of these guys, it's not going to cost $5, $7, $10 million for these guys. It's going to be like a 1-year, $3 million deal, and it should not affect a Terry McLaurin deal at all. Terry McLaurin already is under contract, so a new deal would probably just bring that cap number up, and they still have like $19 million cap space. So it's not gonna these linebacker signings, if they make any of them, it's not gonna affect a Terry McLaurin deal. Hopefully they can get that done soon, but it should not affect what they do at the linebacker position. So I think they need to do it. It's the biggest hole on the team in my opinion right now. So let's get into the 5 linebackers that I think they should target. So one name that has been floating around a lot is Antnony Barr, and I could maybe see Antnony Barr, Washington signing him just because they need linebacker help a lot. But I don't know if Ron would really want this. He doesn't like a lot of injury-prone guys and doesn't like guys that didn't play for Carolina. So, I'm kind of joking on that, kind of. But Antnony Barr's been a really solid linebacker for a long time. The last couple years, he has struggled with injuries. 2021 played 11 games, 2020 played 2 games. He's been struggling with some knee injuries, his entire career. But he was a very, very solid linebacker from like 2014 to 2019. He was one of the better linebackers in the NFL. He can play middle linebacker or outside linebacker for you. In the last, over his career, he has 18 sacks. That's very, very solid. He's okay in coverage as well. Very quick for his size. And let's see, you look at his forced fumbles, 8 over his career. That is very impressive as well. And has 7 fumble recoveries. And he's a very solid linebacker. And of course, there's no doubt about it, would be a huge upgrade over what they have at the moment. So I definitely wouldn't mind this. It would be a mid-tier signing in terms of price. Like I think it would be in that $4 to $6 million range, and you can lower the cap hit a little bit with signing bonus and other things. So wouldn't mind this signing at all, but there's other guys that I think would be better fits for the Washington Commanders. So another linebacker I think the Washington Commanders should try to target is linebacker Alex Guys, I've really wanted them to sign for a long time. Like before free agency started, he was my #1 target for them. Still hasn't gotten signed. I don't know why, but he is a very, very solid linebacker. You guys can see some of the stats on him right here. True Mike linebacker, 3rd highest graded inside linebacker in 2019 and 2021 PFF. You got to take that with a grain of salt, but still pretty impressive. And he's going to be pretty cheap. And this was posted earlier in March, and they were saying like $7 to $8 million. Right now, it would not be that at all. But you look at his stats, like Alexander Johnson's advanced stats are very, very impressive. You know, his coverage and his tackling are insane. So let's go to that right now. So you can see right here in 2021 allowed a 38.9% completion percentage. Again, it was only in 6 games, but that is still pretty impressive, and a 69.7 passer rating, which is very, very good. And then you look at the missed tackling percentage. Anything under 10% is very solid, very good. And he had zero missed tackles this past season. And in 2020, he had a 5% missed tackling percentage. Again, very good, and 8% the year before. So he's a very, very good tackler, very solid in the run game. And he's, not amazing in coverage, but he allowed a pretty high completion percentage here. Again, though, linebackers do allow a higher completion percentage because it's a lot, shorter passes, but his pass rating wasn't bad, 80 and 88.7, which is slightly, I believe 88.7 is around average for quarterbacks. So he is solid in coverage, great as a tackler, doesn't miss many tackles. So is he going to be a star linebacker for you? No, but he's going to be a very, very solid linebacker for you, and that can allow him to play middle linebacker and then Cole to play outside, or if you really want to, it could be the opposite because he has that versatility. And if you really want to as well, I mean, if you're playing 2 linebacker sets, it really doesn't matter. You just got to put both those guys on the field, and I'm feeling really confident about those 2 players. They just need more depth, and Alexander Johnson would start for them and, maybe force them to do some more 3 linebacker sets where they can have Cole, Jamin, and, Alexander Johnson. We will see, but I think he is a very, very solid player. Won't cost too much, and is this, can play for them right away. So, next guy, and again, a lot of these guys are veterans where, they won't need as much time as, let's say, a guy like, a first year or a rookie or a second year guy to get acclimated to the system. Next signing, this guy definitely wouldn't need much time, and that's AJ Klein. And I know a lot of people don't want AJ Klein because, he's a former Carolina Panther. He, even also played for the Bills, which, Ron loves to get guys not only that played for Carolina, but also played for the Buffalo Bills. But AJ Klein, he's probably one of the lower tier guys on this list, but he's still a solid football player. Definitely an upgrade over David Mayo, in my opinion, and a significant upgrade over David Mayo. So, this past year, he only started 4 games. But he's playing, behind Tremaine Edmonds and Matt Milano, so playing behind 2 really solid linebackers. And, he didn't do a ton this past year, but 2020 started 11 games, had 2 forced fumbles and 5 sacks and 75 tackles. And he was very solid from 2015 to 2019. And, obviously played for Carolina, played middle linebacker there, but he's played outside linebacker in the past. I mean, you can see these sacks, 15.5, since he came to the league is very, very impressive. And this is a guy that easily, he knows the system. He knows what to expect from Ron Rivera. Steve Russ, the linebackers coach, he would be fine, and they would be able to sign him in July or August if they really wanted to, and he would be able to, he would be fine, learning the plays and everything. So this is a realistic signing I could see Ron Rivera making. The other guys are just kind of guys I would want them to sign, but I think AJ Klein is someone that Ron Rivera is keeping his eye out for just because he's played for him before. Next guy on this list is Quan Alexander, and he, this one's kind of the riskiest because he has had a ton of injury issues over, his, 7-year NFL career. I mean, first year, 12 games, 2016, 6, then 12, then 6, then 8, 5, or I guess 12 if you combine those 2 and 12. So he has had a bunch of injury issues. I believe there's been Achilles, torn pec, ACL, just so many injuries. But like, he's been productive when he's been on the field. 2021, even in those 12 games, coming off, I believe it was their torn pec, had 3.5 sacks, 1 interception, and was a solid player. I mean, that's the biggest thing. He just has to stay healthy, and if he does, you're getting a very, very solid player who can play middle linebacker for you. So he's a guy that I would not mind bringing in, and you're going to have to probably count on him missing some games, but when he's on the field for you, he will help you out a ton, and he'll probably be a very cheap signing because he definitely has had some injury issues in the past. Next guy on this list, I really had trouble getting a last linebacker on this list. I was debating between Dante Hightower, Joe Schobert, and some other guys, but I landed on a guy I haven't talked about a ton, and that is KJ Wright. And I know a lot of people are going to say, like, he's super old, he's 32, but, honestly, he can still play, and you give him a 1-year deal, I think that's fine. He really hasn't had that many injury issues over his career. Only year he really missed games was 2018, and he signed with the Raiders this year. Didn't do a ton, still had over 50 tackles, and was solid for them. But you look at from 2011 to 2020, he was one of the better linebackers in the NFL, and I think he still can play at an okay level. And again, okay for us at the linebacker position is much better than what we've had over the last few years. So I would definitely take that. And he's a guy that you wouldn't expect him to come in and start. Like, he didn't start last year for the Raiders. He could be a good, solid depth piece that if one of your 2 starting linebackers goes down, then you have KJ Wright come in. He's kind of more of an outside linebacker, but he can play middle linebacker if you really need him to. But I think he would be that outside linebacker. So on 3 linebacker sets, you have KJ Wright in there, but when someone's injured with, in those 2 linebacker sets, he can come in there and play fine for you. He's a veteran. He's been in the league for a long time, and he knows how to pick up a playbook. So he's a guy I would not mind, and he would be a depth guy. You wouldn't expect him to come in and start, but he could start for you if needed. So if I kind of had to rank the linebackers that I would want them to sign, probably Alexander Johnson, number 1 for sure. And then I would kind of go, I don't know, I think AJ Klein would be a really good fit, so I'd put him at number 2, then Antnony Barr, then maybe KJ Wright, then Quan Alexander. But any of them would be a huge upgrade over David Mayo, in my opinion. So let me know what linebackers you want the Washington Commander to sign. Comment that down below. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and peace.